What's up? Welcome to the Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. This is episode number 66, and I am Adam Choit. And of course, I have no affiliation with the band. This is not an official podcast for them or anything. I'm just a fan. And if you're checking out this show, I'm guessing there's a good chance that you might be too. So please be sure to subscribe and follow the podcast on Instagram. That's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. And of course, I'm on video now as well on YouTube. Just search Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on YouTube, and you should be able to find my channel fairly easily. I am reading some notes here as I get more and more used to doing the video thing, especially these intros and outros. But if you want to follow me, I'm at Adam Choit on Instagram and Twitter. Those are my personal pages. And of course, positive reviews on iTunes, Apple Podcasts for this podcast are greatly appreciated as well. I also have another podcast called People We Love, and what I do with that one is interview people from all walks of life, most often comedians and other people in entertainment, creative types. It's casual conversation about their lives and careers, but I also ask everyone to highlight the people they love, who inspired them, who've influenced them, who've helped them in their personal life, in their journey. It's a lot of fun. Definitely check that out, peoplewelovepodcast.com, and that is at People We Love Podcast on Instagram. And there's video for that one now as well, of course. But for today's guest for this podcast, for this episode, the guest is hardcore, longtime Tedeschi Trucks Band fan and friend of the band, Maine's own James Ricker. James grew up in a rural area with a lot of country music around, but he himself was always into classic rock. Unfortunately, he suffered an accident in 1990 that left him permanently paralyzed. But James's story of rehabilitation is an inspiring one that I appreciate him sharing. He's known Derek, Susan, and Mike Mattison personally for over 20 years now, and I also appreciate James sharing his tales of fishing and lobstering with the band, and also sharing his love for the music. There's a lot packed into this one, so let's just get started. Here's James Ricker. Okay, so it's good to see you today, James Ricker. Thank you for joining me on the unofficial Tedeschi Trucks podcast. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's good to see you, Adam, and finally get to meet you.
Oh,
Been
yeah, virtually.
Yes, I know. I've been actually admiring your work from afar, and seems to be really it's great for the band. It really is.
Oh, I appreciate those kind words, always, for sure. How are you holding up during whatever year this is?
Well, this is mid-November in Maine, and this is the start of what we call winter hell. Yeah, it's one of those things that uh it starts getting dark, literally dark at 4:30 here, and I live in Bath, Maine. It's about oh 30 minutes north of Portland, Maine. I live right on the coast, and it is absolutely gorgeous here 8 months out of the year, but um these 4 next months, they are what you make of them. Let's just say that.
What's the temperature today?
Actually, it's beautiful today, and it was in the 40s. Uh,
I would be freezing.
oh, okay.
Even
No.
though it's above 32, I would be freezing.
Oh yeah. No. Oh, yeah. I hear you. As I get older, I feel it. But the it's tomorrow we're going to be in the early 50s. I spoke to my mother in Florida, uh, who mom's going to come up sometime, and I wanted to. So, anyways, it was 65, I think, where she was on the west coast of Florida. So I was like, but that's what they go through their winter, and the it doesn't last very long. It goes on for a while. For we're like I said, we're
Yeah.
getting into it. The time of the year that you find your artistic abilities. I do mess around on the guitar a little bit,
Oh, that's
but
cool. We'll get into it for sure.
yeah, and other than that, like to pick up the paints every once in a while, and you know, you always try to read, to keep that brain going. So
You make the best of the
yeah,
cold winters and the
really to
indoors lifestyle.
yeah, really making the best of it though is when you're out there and you're either snowshoeing or you're, cross country skiing or skating, or, that's when it really becomes fun, is and you don't even notice it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I had fun childhood winters and growing up in the Northeast. I'm from New York, from Long Island originally, and I went to college in Syracuse. So I had my fair share of snow before moving to California, to Southern California, where it does not snow all that frequently. I would say.
I know I've been around that area in the winter, and sometimes it looks as similar as it does in Maine.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you don't know what month. You don't know what's going on here. A lot of people, you don't know what's going on. But what about you? What about your background? Tell me a little bit about where you're from and where you grew up, and a little bit
Well,
about yourself. We'll get into it in the early days.
the early days was uh, I grew up in Brunswick, Maine. Like I said, I live in Bath. There's still neighboring towns. A lot of people that are born here, only not a you know a great percentage leave, but there's always just a bunch from every class of every year that want to keep this home, or we've all done the great adventures. I moved to Jacksonville, Florida for a year. um, it's kind of funny because Derek and Susan live in
Right.
Jacksonville, and I know exactly where they live, and I can't believe that that whole area is just houses now. But I lived in Jax for a year as a designer for the Navy. That was my background, and I literally, um, you know, couldn't stand it there, and I ended up coming home. Yeah,
There's a lot of there's. I was gonna ask you if there's Maine people from Maine do seem to have some pride in the state and where. What do you call? What does people from Maine call? They're Mainers,
well, we're
Maine state.
maniacs, wieners, you madmen.
Did you say
For there,
maniacs?
yeah, maniacs is a big thing. Yeah,
Spelled
yeah.
obviously like a state.
We actually had like a junior Canadian hockey team here that were the Maniacs. They named themselves the Maniacs, but we are maniacs. Yeah. Um, the summers are fun here, and the winters. I actually used to play. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's on the Paralympics, but I used to play on the U.S. Para sled hockey team. I don't know if you've
Sled
ever
hockey. You said we said sled
sled
hockey.
hockey. Yeah, where they push themselves along the ice, and I was a goalie my whole life, and I showed up to play sled hockey one day, and I could barely stay on the sled, but towards the end of the day, they were like, we're really going to look forward to you as being a forward, and I said, no, I only play one position, and that's goaltending. And they were like, well, we already have a goalie, not to toot my horn, but a month later that goalie quit, and I was
He
in
what?
this.
You became the number
He
one
quit, he
goalie.
quit, he quit, and I was in the driver's
Oh well,
seat.
yeah. That will do it. That will do it too.
I didn't look back from there, to tell you the truth, and I made it all the way to the U.S. para team for a year, and politics got into it. Let's just say that, and my shoulders. I am a T4 T5 complete paraplegic, um, and being 34 out there was no picnic. Um, It was a little tough on my body, but I enjoyed it so much I blew the pain off. And then all of a sudden, politics crept in, and I said, and my shoulders were going, and I said, adios.
Well,
So,
we'll get there. Why don't we go back a little bit and tell me about maybe your I mean a little bit about your family. Did you have siblings and was there music
yeah,
around the house growing up? Tell me
I
about your family and early musical influences
sure.
and music in your life.
Well, my initial family, I was born in '69, uh, and I, growing up through the '70s and whatnot, I loved, there were certain things that were coming out. At that time, though, it was almost like pop country. You liked a Glenn Campbell song, or some John Denver song. You're that kid, that is strumming away on something and singing John Denver.
Is it because you grew up in sort of a more rural more
Maine
country?
is rural.
Right.
Once you cross that bridge from New Hampshire into Maine, you are then all of a sudden, I'm sorry, into moose country. And so, we, it's, uh, you know, yeah, it's rural. It's rural.
I got
Yeah,
you.
we'll leave it out. We'll leave it at it's rural. I think we have 1.4 million people in the whole state, and what Boston has 3 million alone. So if you can just imagine, yeah, it just yeah, yep.
I'm gonna jump way ahead in this conversation, but I want to ask, do you have a special affinity for like country style or country infused, influenced songs that Tedeschi Trucks
I was
does?
always, to tell you the truth, country was stuffed down my throat by my father, but I always liked rock,
Yeah.
and it led me on to uh, liking the um, all of a sudden in seventh grade I had enough money and I went to the record store, and my first no, it wasn't an album, it was a cassette. You got to remember, cassettes were big, and I bought Steppenwolf's Greatest Hits, and that's what we, you know, that's what I grew up listening to, was every single song on that, and it all progressed to, Hendrix, Zeppelin, The Doors. Um, your radio stations start to change from the uh, let's just say more, oh, poppy or things, to you're going into classic rock. So that's how I got into my music. The roots of my music really, I can remember being say just 12 years old, and um Grease, the movie with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, had come out, and my uncle had actually bought me the album for Christmas, and I got to admit, I played the vinyl out of that.
It's Americana or very American type music, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. That was still a little poppy.
Sure.
You know, now that I go back and I think of it, but it's funny. When you were talking about my family, yes, I do have one sister, one real sister, and her thing was, and we would, of course, I lived in a small house, growing up. No, not a severely lavish lifestyle, but it was okay. And my sister and I's room were close together, and it was a battle of Led Zeppelin 2 in my room, and she had Prince Purple Rain going in her room. She's 2 years younger than I am. And that was our mornings getting ready to go to late junior high through a couple of years into high school until I bought another CD.
If you guys were around today, like you guys would probably be using computers to like remix them and like put them together and doing these crossover things. So your sister was into more pop music, your dad and maybe more your
Country.
geographically speaking was into country, and you just
Oh
sort of
yeah.
and you sort of organically found rock and classic rock that had come out within the last five,
I
10 years.
that's where I always that's my heart just went to it automatically.
That's kind of
And
like
still
me.
does. As much as, oh God, I hate to mention names, but great country players like Chris Stapleton, Eric Church, um, these guys that are out there are phenomenal.
Right.
And it is darn near rock, but it's not rock. And I can't buy it.
I know what you mean. I know what you
I,
mean. You can
I'm
appreciate
trying.
something else. It's not your bread and butter, so to speak.
It really isn't. You know what I'm saying? And with the twang comes something that I'm not used to. And I don't know. I don't know if one day we'll ever get to that crossroad where I'll accept it. But hey, like I said, these guys are super talented. Some of them are really good,
Oh, no
and
doubt.
I understand that. I mean, would these guys be Crosby, Stills, and Nash if they came out? If it came out today, it would that be a country? Probably.
Oh, maybe,
Yeah,
yeah.
things like that. So yeah, yeah.
Did you play instruments growing up at all, or were you
No,
musical?
that was a bad one. I literally um I had a music teacher that I went to when I think I was in like seventh grade, like the beginning. And I went to my music teacher at our school, and I said to him, I said, I'd really like to start playing the saxophone. And he literally said to me, I think that the people are too far ahead of you progressively, and this isn't going to work.
How come so
And
many people I interview have discouraging teachers and guidance counselors? Everyone tells a story about some teacher or a
I,
guidance counselor who's like discouraging, and that's so like
I didn't even know what my
I don't
guidance
know. It's
counselor
ridiculous
did.
to me.
Yeah, until my senior year in high school, I didn't know what my guidance counselor even did. Like we would I would go there and I would sit in front of him, and he really wouldn't have much to say at all. And I was like, and what was the reason for that appointment? But yes, that's exactly what the music teacher said to me. And I didn't really pick up an instrument and start playing on it until I was in my seriously early 30s. And uh, you know, I I think of what he said and how young I was, and I'm just like, I cannot believe a man didn't give me the opportunity to to play music, because
Yeah, that's
I,
sad.
I I loved it. I just
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Kids are
anyway.
impressionable and you're just a kid, so you're like, "Oh, this guy must know what he's talking about." Like
No, sure. I mean, I guess, they're doing quantum physics, and I'm way out of it.
yeah.
I'm never going to catch up. So I just I was
Let's go get that guy. Let's go get him.
Yeah, right? I
Get him
know.
back.
I really want to be like, well, what was your problem, dude? I
And he'll
could
be
have
like, "You're
been,
still mad about that?"
yeah, right? Seriously, dude. But 40 years later,
What's
I'm still,
wrong? It's wrong. What's wrong is wrong.
yeah, yeah, no, I could have been like Clarence Clemens. Who knows,
That's
man? Yeah,
right. That's right. What
yeah,
about? Yeah, I was gonna ask. What about plans for after high school? It sounds like you were in Maine most. You've been in Maine most of your adulthood. But
yeah.
where were you? Where were you headed professionally, or and even musically? Like, what were you listening to in your early
Well, oh,
20s or whatever?
oh, well, here we go. Through the years, I mean, of course, you go from the classic rock into maybe, then all of a sudden your life wants to branch out. So for me, it was Ozzy Osbourne, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, um, those bands. I mean, I know some people probably on the podcast are closing their ears. He listened to what? But no, this was what was big when I was in high school. And so, there was that kick for a little while, but I never forgot my classical roots. And then, of course, who didn't jump on the Grateful Dead train? Did my share of shows, at least 25. And then, you know, that's basically when the turn of speed metal, Metallica. This is when I'm like 19. Metallica comes out. So doesn't um, uh, there was the speed metal scene was coming out, and uh, there was also you know the new fish scene and stuff like that
Always
was
guitar driven stuff that sounds like you're drawn to, whether it's the classic
well
rock
you,
stuff,
you
whether it's
want
the heavy
to
metal or the jammy dead stuff. It sounds like that's you always drawn to guitar
you're
stuff.
absolutely right. I love the flashy guitar. I believe it or not, my favorite man to this day, to this day, even beyond our beloved friend Derek, was Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I got to meet Stevie in
Oh, that's
Maine
very cool.
one time, and we had a chance. There was a It was at the University of Maine, and Stevie was playing there. And this was in like 1988. And so I'm literally 19 years old. And I end up going backstage, and I'm trying to whittle my way to, get a glimpse of Stevie or anybody in the band. I had seen him twice before, and both times was after Stevie had become sober, and he was incredible. So I got my way backstage looking like a roadie hand because they were all college students my age, and was over 6 feet tall, and over, you know, X amount of pounds. So I, everybody thought I was one of the student roadies, and I could just tell I was getting closer to Stevie. And there was a kid and his older brother standing at this door. And the kid looks at me and goes, "Did you win tickets on this radio station that we have up here? That did you win tickets to see Stevie too?" And I was like, "Well, I absolutely did." You know, so the kid goes running in with his older brother, grabs his signature, his mouth's wide open. His brother didn't say much. I don't think his brother even liked CV. And so, anyways, the kid goes running out the door pretty much. And um, it was just Stevie and I. And at the time, I was actually a lobsterman. I lobstered. I've throughout my life. I started when I was 11 years old, and my father gave me some traps and some outboard and an outboard, and said, "Go out there and don't kill yourself." So It was always fun to be out on the ocean. But getting back to my Stevie story, Stevie goes, "So, what do you do?" And I said, "I'm a lobsterman." And he like stopped and he grabbed a water and he hands me, he's like, "Would you like a water?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, thanks." This is my first time backstage at anything. And, here's Stevie swagging me out with water. So I'm like, great. He sits down. He's like, "Sit down." And he wanted to know everything about lobstering from me.
Why?
He was just never had, I don't think he had ever met somebody that, was a lobsterman.
Yeah,
And he told me he professed his, his love for the ocean, which,
that's very cool.
which,
Yeah, he was
which,
curious.
which, Derek is a he's a big game fishing
Yeah,
fool.
yeah, I've seen some of the photos the band posts.
Yeah, I bet you have. Yeah. No, I've heard of a couple stories. Um, I guess I'll let one out of the bag, who's another friend of mine, but we all know Jimmy Herring from Widespread and Colonel Bruce Hampton. And I him and Jimmy went out and caught the big one. What is it? The if it's the blackfin or the marlin, I mean, it's the ones that
Big
are known
fish.
to jump in the boat and impale you,
It's got teeth. Teeth.
and
Fish with teeth.
yeah, right, yeah, it's like megalodon, and uh him and I got from the story that he had told me was that him and Jimmy both were, they worked on it each a couple of times for, 30 minutes at a time, they before the fish got close enough they definitely understood what it was like to reel in a marlin because they were working their ass off at it from what I understand.
It was physically demanding to just get it onto the onto the
Well,
boat.
yeah, you're trying to coax a 900-pound bullet,
Dude,
to come to your boat, and it's, if you've ever watched any of these fishing shows, like, I guess I can bring it up, Wicked Tuna, or, any of these shows and that's another thing is, uh, there's a guy, I'll leave the names out of, but there's a guy on Wicked Tuna who is a very good friend of Derek and Susan's. I guess I can say his name. His name's TJ, and he, anyways, he a lot of times after he catches the tuna fish, he says, "Going home, bound for glory."
nice.
So yeah, yeah,
It's a
and
mantra.
that's on television today. You can pick it up.
Dude, I like to order fish.
I do you.
I will say that. Let's keep going with your journey. Where were we? We're in our 20s. We're like in
Okay,
metal and guitar music, and
so
we're heading into the
so
90s. At some
my,
point, we'll get to the main players, of course.
okay, great. But when I was in like, around the 20 to 21, 22, I was in the Guitar Hero phase, uh, such as the members of G3, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, usually Jeff Beck, or one year it was Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Johnny Lang was another year. But Steve Vai and Joe Satriani were laying it out back then. And I had a lot of like for them. Um, Believe it or not, I even had a prog rock tangent with a band called Osric Tentacles and Porcupine Tree. And um, I listened to it all, you know, and I I was craving something different though, at the time. At that time we had gone from classic rock to metal to the Grateful Dead, back to a little bit of a metal phase, and now we're into um, going into basically guitar hero type of you're always trying to find that clean guitar player that was you know uh it was had the talent and had the entertainment.
Sure. Sure, no doubt. So what about after that? Where are we in the 90s now?
Well, no, we're actually,
Where
well,
am
yeah,
I?
yes, we're about 90.
And
Jeez.
and also your personal journey. I would like to hear more about
Yeah,
that. That's obviously
we're into like 94 at this time. And, you know, at that time I was, I don't know, it was, um, it was grabbing at something that was in the CD case. You had your cool Walkman, and you're at work. I was working as an engineer at a local shipyard here that builds destroyers for the United States Navy. I'm a piping designer by trade, and yeah, yeah. So we went from lobstering literally one day, and I had my drawings from high school, and a company had opened up, and I knew that these classes that I had taken in school was the name of this company that moved into my town. And I literally went from the back of a boat, lobster boat, that was 20 miles offshore, one day to the next day. I walked in with some drawings at the age of 18, no, 19. And they started going through my drawings. So from the back of a boat to a shirt and tie in an office within a week. Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. So during that time, I lived with another friend, and we had a house with a stereo that was too big, and we would just go through the CDs and pick out different things. A lot of Stevie Ray, then switch over to some Dead, stuff like that. It could be Crosby, Stills, and Nash to, at the time, some speed metal band, like Testament or something like that.
When do we get to Susan and Derek and that music?
Well,
Get
we get to Susan and Derek. Now I get to Derek.
and your personal journey as well.
Okay. Well,
What's the chronology of these things?
this is after my accident. My accident was in 90 when I was 21. And I, that's a life changer. I am paralyzed. I'm in a wheelchair. Um, it doesn't bother me. It's absolutely fine. Well, you know.
I'm still sorry you had to go through all that you've gone through. I'm sure the whole process and journey wasn't
Well,
the most fun.
yeah, no, I'm glad that you jumped in there, Adam, because no, it's not a cakewalk every day, and I'm getting up there in the age. I got the no shave November beard going, and it's looking pretty gray
No,
actually.
but no, the beard and the hair looks good though. I noticed that as soon as I logged into Zoom here.
Yeah,
That's
good, good,
my
good.
first observation.
No,
I was like, oh, this dude looks good.
yeah, yeah, no product either. Yeah. So
Hashtag no product.
so anyways, my accident was in was in 1990. At the time, I was 21, and I was taking a couple of guys out tuna fishing, and we came back in, and I told the guy he had been drinking all day, and I had a couple myself coming in, when we were coming in, and I jumped in the passenger seat, and I looked at him and I said, you know, these are main roads, there's no ditches. Be very careful. And we get to a corner, famous corner down there, kind of, which is only a mile from my house. And he goes into the ditch and it overcorrects and barrel rolls, and I get ejected and broke my back. Yeah.
Wow. Oh man, I'm sorry. That's
That's how
fucking
that
rough.
happened. So, you know, um, I uh, I always tried, right from the beginning. My goal from the beginning was a get the hell out of the hospital. When my eyes opened up, I literally was like, I looked at my father, and I mean, this crushed him, but I was like, hey, Dad, because I knew he wouldn't, he'd keep going with me. He was that kind of guy. Um, I said, let's take a walk, which of course, crushed him because nobody had told me I was paralyzed.
Oh man. At that
Yeah,
point,
but
yeah, you didn't know.
but when I looked at the old man, I was like, he knew exactly what I meant. We're going for the door, so that's I didn't know, like I said, how much I was going to be. Sorry, I just got to adjust myself. But didn't that he didn't know, I didn't know, I'm sorry, how injured I was. And that was kind of a opening my eyes first image, and he was one of the people around the bed. And then the next time that I realized what happened was I was in bed, and all of a sudden I come to, they're controlling your drugs and how lucid you are. And so, they want to bring me back to reality. So they stopped giving me the drugs. And I finally wake up, and I had a doctor over the top of me with a baby pin. And I can see him coming up my kind of my rib cage, if you will, um, with the pin. And I'm looking, and I don't feel this pin. And when he got to my chest, I felt it, and I said, I feel it. And he said, he, as cold as ice, stared down, looked at me, said, you are a paraplegic for the rest of your life. I'm sorry. And pretty much turned around and walked out the door, and I never saw that doctor again in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it was very strange. Um, and I remember his name, but uh, never did I ever see him again. And then I got to be close. I actually became close friends with the doctor who did the surgery, Dr. Thomas Martin, brilliant man here in Maine, very highly looked up surgeon. And it was great because he would come in during the afternoon down around lunch hour and talk to me about just everyday things, believe it or not, he actually had lobster traps himself, and I still had my lobster traps, my own. Um, I wasn't working for anybody, but I had my own traps. And, we'd just go back and forth on the stories. I think I told them the same story 100 times, but
I
that
imagine.
that was the
Could
Tylon
imagine.
speaking. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
So,
man.
um, So I rehabbed myself. I literally got out of the hospital. My accident was on August 19th, and uh, I ended up getting sprung Christmas Eve day. So
What a
that's how
journey,
long
man. Well, that's admirable, commendable, inspirational that you're able to
I
you're
appreciate
you're
it.
alive. I mean, I'm sure that's something that you realized as well, that and you were thankful to just be alive, I'm guessing ultimately as
Oh,
part of it.
absolutely. Yeah. No, no, sometimes you gotta think, yeah, I'm here for a reason, Out of my rehabilitation on December 24th, and I was fortunate enough that the my hockey coach was the town's authority of the housing authority of the town that I grew up in, and he already had a wheelchair accessible apartment for me, and I was very very lucky that way. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, not everybody gets that chance,
Yeah, it sounds like you had a good amount of support from family and community
Oh,
to
tons
help
of
deal with all of this.
real friends, real friends. Not to say it's a popularity contest, but from what they were telling me, like both solariums on every room that I was in for the first 60 days was, standing room only for people waiting to just get in. And, of course, they'd let people in for a couple hours and then they'd say, that's it, and I had no idea what was going on, but they told me towards the end. So
You
I,
feel it on some level, probably, that the energy
well,
that
you do feel it in your soul, you do feel it in
yeah,
your
you know what?
soul.
Like people say thoughts and prayers has almost become like a cliche joke. But if people are I mean, beyond thoughts and prayers, actually showing up and being present and offering support is even going beyond. But if you're genuine and your thoughts and prayers are being delivered with intention, like I don't know that there's nothing to it. I think there might be something to it. Can only help if it's coming across as genuine and people mean what they're trying to convey to others they care about.
Well, no, I totally believe in the, of course, I think uh, any sane person at this point is going to think that karma comes into it. And, we, you know, it may not be an official prayer if you consider yourself maybe not truly religious, but it's sending a good vibe. And
It's all the same thing, just different words and different
yep, I like like
terminologies, I guess.
I like to do the I'm into the Reiki thing, and I I just I believe in energy.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah. From
I don't not believe in it. I'm with each passing day, I'm definitely more humbled by that which I do not understand, and that is
yeah,
beyond the scope of what I am capable of understanding. I'll just say that. Damn, man, what a fucking journey you've been on. I can only imagine.
well, so that was that puts me at the end of the age of 21, and then like I said, it was on to Um, I went, well, I'm sorry, like I said, I was hired when I was 19. When I went down to Jacksonville, it was because I was 19. And like I said, I lived there for a year because I got a job offer. It was on a day right after, this was late November of, uh, geez, I think it was 1989. I literally walked up to my boss and gave him a 2-hour letter of
What was the
resignation.
job is also another fish.
Yeah, same exact thing, designing pipes in the Navy
Okay.
ship. This wasn't the destroyers. This was
And your paths didn't cross with Derek during this trip to
no,
Jacksonville,
no,
no.
no. He at that time was probably you know,
10 years
10,
old, 11 years
10
old.
years old,
Right.
yeah, 10, 12 years old. But from what we see on
Playing
YouTube,
already.
he was playing already, yeah, which is kind of cool. So, it's weird that like my only city that I know, um, out of the state of Maine and Portland. I've been to many cities, of course, but I mean to actually know the twists and turns and the secret routes and stuff like that is Jacksonville. So we actually don't talk about it that much. So
Interesting.
uh, it's one of those things where I know where they live, and they're it's a quiet city, so where they live in Jackson. So,
Hmm.
um, but yeah. So brings me up to through the days where now there's a person that we're going to put into this story. I want to keep this in here so that it's understood, but um, a, a lot of this, my story with Derek, Susan, and Mike, has to do with my friend that I went to school with here and who moved down to New York City to get, the cool job. And, got to be on the scene in New York City. And we'll just refer to him as Mo. And it's Mo. What is it, Mo? And he's my very good friend, and but we're gonna keep his real name out of it. We'll refer to him as Mo, and he's a good guy. He's a good guy. But Mo was down on the scene in New York City and first discovered Jimmy Herring and uh, the Aquarium Rescue Unit. And so we all got to, I got to meet Jimmy after a while. The Horde tour that they were in, they came to Portland, and I, had things all set up for backstage. So, anyways, uh, I get to go in and hang out with Jimmy, and I get to meet him, and it gets the ball rolling there because what happens is Jimmy is fascinated with this kid named Derek Trucks, and we are fascinated with Jimmy. And but he keeps talking about Derek Trucks and Derek Trucks, and so my friend in New York City gets a chance, Mo gets a chance to go see Derek and, hears about it. And my friend was fortunate enough to, at the time, um, businesses could, you could cater to your customer, take them out to a show and, you know, all those kinds of things. Uh, Full dinner, the whole 9 yards, just to try to get them. I do believe it's almost, that's an illegal act now. I'm not sure. But anyways, so he takes Derek out to dinner and, asks him a few questions. And, at the time, Derek was literally 18 or 19. And, I'm sure, not everybody, I know for a fact that when they first started out, not everybody was taking Derek out for steak dinners. And we So, anyways, he tells me about Derek, and he tells me Derek's a really good guy and quiet, um, not shy, but quiet. And so I get a chance to see him here in New Hampshire at a place called Stone Coast Brewery, or not Stone Coast, I'm sorry, Stone Church Brewery, and I believe it's Exeter, New Hampshire. Really cool place to see a show. Tiny. It's an old church. Pews still in there. Um, very cool. But set up with a bar. And I get there a little early because Mo tells me, you know, you should say hi to this kid. So I'm, now we're a couple beers into it, and I'm sitting in the room, and Derek goes across the room with his guitar. Now, this was at the time when his first CD had come out, and he had that big steel guitar that he had in front of him. And I just assumed that's what he played, and so I see that he has his guitar case, and I'm like, I'm across the room, and like I said, we've had a couple of beers at this point, and I'm like, Derek, and I almost startle him. This is my first meeting. I could I could tell like he doesn't quite know what to say, and so I corner him and I'm like, so, is that your guitar? I'm expecting to see the steel guitar. Not steel, the hollow bodied, regular looking, not a slide steel guitar, country style, but it's, the ones that are made out of the steel. So, anyways, he opens up his case, and of course, it's his SG. And I'm like, I look down and I go, oh, cool. You know, that was, it was about as anticlimactic as it gets. And so he closes it up, and we don't say too much after that for a little while. But I'm inching my way towards the side of the stage. I've heard about, this is when Bill McKay was still aboard. Kofi was not even around. It was Bill McKay, Todd Smalley, young Rico Scott, and Derek. And they, no bus, big blue van. Uh, this is the early days.
Sure.
Yeah. And I end up, I get to, uh, I get to hang out with them after they played. I watched. Um, I could have sworn Derek played with a pick the whole time. And so as he's coming off the stage, I'm like, it was good. I enjoyed this show. Can I get your pick for, from this evening? I knew that he hadn't thrown many or anything like that. And he looks at me and goes, I don't play with a pick.
Oh man, you're 0 for 3.
Yeah, yeah, I'm just thank you. I'm throwing goose eggs,
Not
low
purposely.
low cheese, right, the whole time, and so I end up telling him that it was great to meet him, and we'll see you next time around, which I did, and he remembered me and I remembered him, and that show, you get a little bit closer to the band, and it really is just a bar room, uh so a nice place. but it
And
was enjoyable.
this was when Derek was, you said, 18, 19. So this was
We're
90.
working into the year probably 1999.
Yeah, and this was already after your accident,
Oh
obviously.
yeah, 9 years
Yeah.
after. Yeah, oh yeah.
So
Like
a guy, so you're a guy rolling around in a wheelchair yelling from across the room. That might help you be a little bit more memorable as well, I
I
suppose.
guess so. It's funny that you say that, but yeah, I guess so. But anyways, it was, I knew that once I saw him, he had a, je ne sais quoi about him that I liked. He was good, and we were following him and Jimmy, Mo, and I, and we were starting to say, yeah, Steve Vai, Satriani, they're, a bunch of showboaters, whatever. We kind of, and Jimmy and uh, Derek and oh God, there's a list of them. Doyle Barham Hall Jr., a bunch of people, uh, you know, um, out there that are trying to put this. I want to say new sound together. It was kind of a new rock. Um, some of it you weren't sure if you liked it at first. You know, um, I can think of a few songs, that were on Derek's second CD that, it took me a long time to get used to these songs. And I am a true, huge, big DTB fan.
His
I
music will challenge the listener sometimes, is one way to put it. I
yeah,
mean,
I,
just because
I don't want to, I know that we're on a Tedeschi Trucks uh, podcast, but and I still think to this day, boy, I would die to see just a Derek Trucks Band reunion. Um,
a lot of
and I,
fans feel that way.
I think a lot of people feel that way. Not that Derek's changed playing with Susan, and because he hasn't. I know for a fact that every single night that guy goes out on stage, that he at one point is going to give you 110% of himself. um, I think I sort of know this information, because that's the way he feels, and he feels that people came to see him and that they should get uh, you know 100%, you know, at least, and that's that goes to show um, about Derek and how he really is about this business. He is all, he's a great guy, but when it comes down to his music, man, you know, I don't have many questions. he's he's always had it down, and like I said, this is going when Bill McKay, and then we'll start crossing over to when Javier Colon was the vocalist. Javier was amazing. He was really good, and I, nobody saw him leaving the Derek Trucks Band. I don't, to my knowledge, and he ended up getting the break, whatever break that didn't. I don't think it was much of a break that it happened, but we'll just leave it nicely at that. And thank God he made it back when he was on The Voice the first season, though. Are you familiar with his age and with Derek? Of course you are.
I'm not sure who did you say?
Harvey or Cologne?
Oh,
He
mate.
was the winner of the first season of The Voice.
All right.
You didn't know that, huh?
I guess not.
You guess not. All right. I'm dropping some knowledge on the podcast
Oh,
master. All right.
thank you.
So, yes, Javier sang for Derek for it was a little over a year. I think I saw two shows up here in the Northeast, and Javier was the man. Had to be. You can look him up, Javier Cologne, and God bless him. He was an amazing singer, and that's when he left, and uh, that kind of it shook us a little bit because who's gonna sing? Does Derek even sing?
As a fan of the band, it shook you. You mean?
Yeah, yeah, sure. It was like, wow, what's gonna happen now?
So Derek Trucks and Derek Trucks Band at this point, after seeing him and the band a few times in the early days, he became your favorite guitar player. It sounds like, and they became your favorite
Yeah,
band, and you
him
would
and
just
Jamie.
and you would
Yeah,
just see them every time they came to town, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Whenever they came to the Northeast, they would usually include either Boston or someplace in New Hampshire, or maybe even a spot in Portland every once in a while. And we would always, catch them, and they were slowly turning into where I was heading for music wise in life. And so I um I just got into them. And so then one day, Mo is back up here in Maine from New York City, and I get slipped a CD. And I am told that this is Derek's new promising lead singer, put together by Schneider from Columbia Records. And if I let this out of the bag and somehow anybody gets the information, I'm pretty much going to be killed and buried before. So I'm like, holy cow. Okay. Well, it was Mike Mattison and Scrap-O-Matics with Paul Wolfson, just him and Paul. Paul's a great guy. Paul's cool. And so I listen to it, and it's got Let the Mermaids Flirt with Me, Bubblegum. Uh, there was just four songs, and they were all fantastic. His voice was amazing. So, anyways, it gets down to the point where we are now seeing them with Mike Mattison singing, and it was the day of the show, and I had to take. I was hoping that Derek would come out, but my friend Mo and him had already uh, got a trip together, and for a guided boat adventure, striper fishing up here. So I grabbed Mike Mattison and a friend that with his lobster boat, and we went into Portland. And I picked up Mike Mattison, and we had gone out. And the secret of this is, of course, I'm planning on feeding Derek, and I know Susan's going to be there. Susan was in town with them. Um, I had only met Susan at that point one time at uh, a small place here in Portland. Um, she seemed to be very nice. She knew who I was through Derek telling her that this crazy guy in a wheelchair that's a little too loud is probably going to be there, and and I was, and she knew who I was, and came down and she talked to me after the show, and she was just sat at a table. I'm screaming my head off as she's walking off stage, and I'm next to the edge of the stage. I'm like, Susan, my name's Jamie. I'm friends with Derek, you know. And she's like, I know, and she's like, hold on. And she comes around and sits down with me. This is back, way back in the day.
What
So,
day? What year? What year is this?
oh boy, now you're getting there. 2000.
Oh, this is still fairly in the early, because they met in 19. Didn't the two of them met in 99? I think Derek and Susan.
Was it? I thought it was before that.
Maybe.
It could have been 201. I fight myself back and forth. Was that 2000 or 2001?
You've known
And
them a long time.
yeah. So, anyways, I talked to Susan. Everything's great. So we'll get back to the boat trip, though. We end up picking these guys up, and the deal is we're going to haul some lobster traps. We're going to, pull some pots and get some live lobsters, and we got a cooker right on the boat. Everything's going to be great. I'm known as the lobster roll man with these guys.
Did you say
I got
lobster old man or lobster roll man?
lobster roll,
Oh, I
R
like.
O
Oh,
L.
that sounds good.
Yeah. Well, this year we did something a little different where we mixed the crab and the lobster, and
Dude, that sounds even better.
yeah, they call it a crabster around here, and let me tell you, they're delicious.
I'm
So
not
that
allergic and I don't keep kosher.
okay, okay. And, but anyways, that was this year that I introduced them to the crabster backstage in New Hampshire. But so at this point, just to keep the show going here, we stuffed the lobster traps with lobsters, of course, because how would I know how many traps we were going to haul, to get 25 lobsters, between me, Derek, Mo, Susan, my other friend, and another kid that was there, and Mike Mattison, if I didn't say that. So, but this is the day that I got to know Mike Mattison really well. Um, and it was the first day. You know how sometimes that can be an awkward thing.
A road trip, a day trip, those are make or breaks in any type of relationship, friendship,
Whether
or
it's on
romantic or
back of a
otherwise.
lobster boat or in a car, you're absolutely right.
You're trapped
How long?
in a sense.
Yeah, how long is the radio on for, and then how long is, you know what I'm saying? And or how long do you just sit there and talk? And he and I, growing up in, both cold states, would we were passing back our childhood memories,
Right,
and
right.
the childhood memories was hockey. We that we had hockey in common, and it was really you know he, when you understand that, you understand what a cold morning is, the loss of feeling in your fingers and your toes, all that kind of stuff. And so anyways, long story short, he we end up getting along like two peas in a pod, and it was really cool. um, he was just, really nice guy, and at the time, I and it doesn't bother me, even to this day, but knowing that, he graduated from Harvard, um, you know, uh, various, you know, various other things that he's accomplished in his life. I didn't know. And he is just, an amazing soul. He really is. And so anyways, um, I take those guys out and we all meet up with Susan, Mo, and Derek now at this famous wharf here in Portland, Maine, Chandler's Wharf. And I am I'm meeting Susan for the first time, and Charlie is an infant, and he's just crawling all around, and we're handing him, uh, crabs to play with, and lobsters and stuff like that. And he was just such a cute kid, and so um, that was the last time I ever saw them play at a, well, I'm not going to say the last time, but a really small place, this was at the Big Easy here, owned by Ken Bell, uh, who does a lot of great promoting around here still. Um, Brings a lot of big acts in to the state of Maine through the Portland House of Music. And anyways, he knew about Derek, and God, he was loud in that place, man. He had the amp turned up that night, and it was a crazy crowd because everybody from Boston, guitar players, just bombarded the
Yeah,
place.
he was known in the guitar
He's
scene, I'm sure
starting,
at
you
that
know what
point.
I'm saying? He's starting to catch on big time.
Did
You know,
Susan sing that night?
she made an appearance. Yes, she did. Um, but even I didn't know much of, even after seeing Susan, I didn't buy her first CD. Actually, my stepbrother was the one who was telling me, that he had his CD, had her CD, and she's amazing. And, and I took everybody's word for it. And, I had already seen her live once. And so that was like the basis of in the beginning and of our meeting.
Dude, I appreciate all these stories for sure, and they mean a lot to me, and I know they're personal to you. I mean, because I don't get a ton of that. I mean, everyone's had great interactions with the band and is friendly with them on some level, but a lot of what I talk about is the music, and I'm sure we'll get to that as well. But to hear these little anecdotes and little stories about you,
Yeah,
and members of
yeah,
the band
no,
is cool.
right, right. Getting to know them, and like I always say to like I don't have many pictures with them, and that's because when I'm with them, I've known them for so long, that I just feel like asking for pictures is, you know, they're my friends. I'm going to see them again next year or in 6 months
You have
or
probably have pictures with them already. You probably have
oh,
some, right?
absolutely. I actually have some very memorable pictures.
Right, and you're not stopping others from taking
I
pictures
will tell you,
of whatever's
in,
happening. You're just living in the moment, which is usually a good place to
absolutely,
be, I suppose. I'm kind
yes,
of the same
yeah,
way. Like I feel like I have pictures and with pretty much all the members of the band at this point. So if I see them now, it's like I don't know. I don't I don't need that, I guess. It's
yeah,
on the bucket list.
yeah. Once
Off the bucket list.
they really are the type of people. I mean, they're not going to say no to your if you want to take a selfie, but once you get to know them and and you meet them once, you're just kind of like, y- it doesn't. I don't know. They are such down to earth people. This is the one thing that I want to say and definitely get clear that people say, are they as nice as they seem? And this is Derek, Susan, Mike. You really name all of them. Elizabeth gave. Uh, you know, they're all the same type of people, and they are just amazing. Um, they're they're so down to earth that you know, I I don't think of it as, it hasn't been like, oh, I'm friends with celebrities or something, but geez, they're starting to, you know, things are moving in action here, you know, and especially in the past, you know, uh, since the beginning of Tedeschi Trucks, really, um, has been a movement, and it is finally caught on. And it's so fantastic now to be able to see them and say and think, you know, maybe, and I hate to put it this way, but God, maybe they got enough, you know, s- stocked away in the sock, that they don't have to worry about it anymore. They're just doing it now to do it. And, it's not about, being able to put your kids through college or whatever, but they've really they've they've done it, and they're successful. And it's kind of, I'm at the point as a friend where I'm wiping my brow off and I'm like, she's like, they did it, you know and that's, it means a lot to me, and I'm glad that they did, you know um, and they they're one of the most deserving couples to be successful at.
Oh, I concur. It seems like they're making the music that they want to make the way that they want to make it in their own style. And just speaking to the type of people they are, everyone who I've spoke to in person on the podcast or otherwise has totally echoed the same sentiments about the types of people they are, and that's just also cool to hear from just fan after fan, and just so many stories of I hear of. I think even you posted something like this, how maybe you even had like a moment with Susan and talking about personal things that have happened with you, and just everyone's so many fans just seem to have a story where they like not necessarily break down to members of the band, but share personal things and have mentioned that whether it's Derek, Susan, or someone else, like really listens to the fans and cares about the fans and what people are going through on an individual level even, and that's just you don't get that from other bands or celebrities, like, and this again, this has been echoed by other people, like when you're talking to Derek, or when you were talking when you we mean any fans, myself, would be in conversation with like Kofi or anyone, like you actually get their attention, like even if it's just for a
Yeah.
short while. They're very present, caring people, that's what it seems like is the
Yep.
consensus, and I would agree with it.
Yeah, it really, with the 20 years, 21 years that I've known him now, or two, whatever it is, um, with Derek, uh, you know, he he started off and he was just so quiet. And like I said, I mean, I always bring lobster rolls. Always, always, always. I am the lobster roll man
What's
for
in a
the.
lobster roll? What's in a lobster roll?
No, it's just picked out meat with a little bit of mayo. Sometimes you can throw some tarragon in there, and you simply put it on a, nice hot dog roll. And you can use lettuce, a little bit of lettuce if you want. And it's mixed in with mayo, and just light, very light. The lighter the better, if you ask me, because the lobsters have got to be sweet. You got to get what they call a cheddar, and that is a lobster that has just molt its skin, and you get the sweeter meat out of them. So with all of my lobstering friends, I always get to share, and everybody's, giving the so I know that they do enjoy it. But boy, now the amount of lobster that I've got to bring for a 13-piece band has got, but I enjoy it. Um, I enjoy bringing them, uh, you know, the lobster. Um, Susan's no, um, she's no stranger to lobstering. I believe she actually even told me her father and her used to lobster when she was a kid, Mr. Tedeschi.
Wow.
I brought her out on a boat one time with Captain Ray Card out of Portland, Maine. He's a famous local guitar player around here, lives on a beautiful boat. And I brought them out because I needed a boat to go out on. And I asked Captain Ray, I said, Captain Ray, can I bring Derek and Susan? And at the time it was JJ and Falcon, can we get out there and, I'll pay. And, well, geez, after 2 seconds, we get out of the berth and, where you moor your boat. And Susan goes up and kind of walks up next to Ray and says, mind if I take the helm? And she knew how to read the buoys, the navigational buoys, knew the whole thing right down to a T, nailed it. It was, I was impressed, not that I guess I should have been. Just, a lot of people don't know how to navigate.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm doing out there. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
they
know what I'm
red,
doing.
red and green buoys, and then there's different shape buoys, which means one could mean a shoal or a gigantic rock, and she knew the whole 9 yards going through, and I was impressed. I was impressed.
Yeah.
It was funny. We lost JJ that day down into the bathroom. He was I think
Oh
he was
man.
doing yeah, he was doing a little praying, and it's funny that I didn't think it was very rough at all that day,
Yeah,
and
people
I lost sight of
susceptible.
him. I lost sight of him really quick, and I kept on thinking after to myself, well, a man from Atlanta, you don't see all the time, he probably hasn't been in a boat a lot,
Yeah.
it's
JJ
not.
threw up. I got it. I'm gonna take this clip out and for social media and tag him in it, and, and I'm not gonna do that. I don't even know if he's on them, but
Oh, okay.
that's cool. Oh man, what great stories! I feel like we've been going at it a while already, and we barely scratched the surface. I might have to
Funny
bring you
that
back.
I really have barely scratched the surface, but I do have to have dinner.
I don't want to take up too much more of your time, and I'm getting
Yeah,
hungry
yeah,
as
no.
well. But if you have
You
a
know,
just to
we can
continue to
pick
talk,
we can pick this back up, but I'll just continue on with that day,
sure.
and my and a couple other boating adventures with them. So after that, it was great. I've got to get them out on the boats a few times here in Portland, in the Portland Harbor, and we've always had a fantastic time. So I enjoy uh, I enjoy making them happy, and throughout the years, it shows. It shows. Derek has his special way of coming up and saying hello to me, and it's a typical Derek way because of him being quiet. But I usually don't see him, and I'll be chatting in a circle or something, and I kind of notice that people are looking, either one way or to the one side or the other side of me, and it's always Derek, and he He's got a big smile on his face with uh, with his guitar is always around his neck, and he's always got a big smile, and we always give one another a nice big hug, and it's the reaction and result of knowing somebody for 20 years.
No, that's
And
great. I mean, you have a friendship with him, but also like a fan and a music performer. It's
yeah,
like there's like this
yeah,
very symbiotic thing going on with you guys. You make the lobster rolls, they eat the lobster. Like,
yeah,
they're a
you
guest in
know,
your town, and you host for them, but they're also
yeah,
performing for you. There's a lot of give and take, but it's not done in any sort of transactional way. It's just you guys being nice and you all being nice to each other and just being good people and sharing your time and your love with each other, really. And that sounds awesome.
absolutely.
And that lobster roll sounds good the way you describe it. I will tell you that much as well.
They're delicious. They are delicious. And but I cherish those. I cherish these. I still, as a friend of theirs, I cherish the uh, one, two, maybe three times a year that I get to see them. Um, I cherish those days.
How many times have you seen Derek? I mean, we could ask Tedeschi Trucks also, but about how many times? I mean, have you seen Derek three, 2, 3 times every year since the early 2000s or so? You must
Yep,
have
yep,
seen
yep.
40, 50, 60 plus times, I'd guess, Derek and
My God, I
Susan
guess
a bunch
you're
of
right.
times.
So 20 years, 21 years times, say at the very minimum 2.5. So let's say 45, 50 shows
That's
maybe.
awesome. That's cool. Yeah, no, they add up, and
Well, yeah, yeah.
they're all
And
meaningful. And you never
yeah,
get cheated if whether it's Derek and Susan, Derek Trucks Band. There's no, I mean,
no,
just listening back, I was asking you about that Maine show, what year that was, because I was wondering if it was something that I've actually listened to, because I pop in, on the archive.org listening to the old tapes of Derek Trucks Band live, and Susan's
really,
Susan's on a lot of those recordings,
she
as a guest or
is.
whatever.
Um,
So I'm wondering if I maybe even came across that one, but that sounds like that was a real early show, like pre Mike Mattison
was,
even.
and
Not too
like,
many of those, I think, online. Some, I'm sure.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. They would try to be together as much as they could. They were married and they had a baby at the time, and they would try to get together as much as they could. And, that's eventually what led to Tedeschi Trucks
And
Band.
thank the Lord for that.
Yeah, yes, sir. You know, um, it's very good. They are perfect. They don't, I'm sure that it's, a wonderful f- relationship that they have. I've never seen them, where I thought that they were angry with each other.
I'm sure they've been, but they were able to shield the
True,
public
I
and
mean,
friends from
living
that, I
on the
guess.
road that long, it is absolutely crazy. I don't know. I mean, Susan and Mike Mattison, he's getting up there, and he's gonna kill me for saying that, but I
We all are.
know how these guys jump on a bus every single night and just next town, next town, next town. You know, I've gone and, done the three shows in two different states thing myself, and I was bushed and ready to come home.
Right.
So, uh,
That's
you
what they're
know,
paid for. BB King said, you're paid for the road, and you do the show for free, but you're paid to travel. Essentially, is
I, I guess that
what the
is,
life is. Damn, I appreciate all these stories, my friend. Thank you so much. I might like title this, um,
There's
James Ricker
so
talks the high seas with Tedeschi Trucks Band or something like that.
That's
Very,
awesome because I have so many more, and I really, like I said, I mean,
dude,
I
I'm gonna have
hope.
to have you back on at some point. We'll
Yeah,
do it
I was
again.
gonna say, because I really want to work, and I really want to work something in about my closeness again with Mike Mattison in the book.
Right? Yeah. Let's. Why don't you tell
I
me?
think I think it would be an insult to him. I really want to give him a little bit more homage. So getting along, with Mike was is my, you know, he's he really is my bro. He's very nice. He's one of those guys that he could have been a rock and roller, or he really could have probably have been an editor for a very popular magazine. He's incredibly smart. He has a new book out right now with Ernest uh, Suarez called Poetic Song Verses. And what it is um, I had listened to a quick synopsis of the book, and once again, Poetic Song Verses by Mike Mattison and Ernest Suarez. So go out on Amazon and grab that copy. Um, just came out. Uh,
I got
anyway,
one. It's on its way.
all right, good, Adam. And so, anyways, the deal is with this is how the black man came here uh, from, us bringing them in from Africa, working them on our plantations, and their chants turned into really, from what I understand, uh, from almost a chant to uh, uh, a, a a song, which was a blues song. I miss my baby. You know, anything to make the day go by quicker, and uh, you know, then it evolving into when the electric guitar comes into play and how it changes, how it just radicalizes the deep Southern blues. And then, from what I understand, a little background there, and going into the blues of, just, this from the start to now, and how he actually goes about writing songs for the Tedeschi Trucks Band. Midnight in Harlem was his baby, and we will love him for it, forever. Of course, you know, it's got to be one of everybody's favorite
Oh, for sure.
TT.
I'm excited about this book because it sounds like it's like a history lesson, but from the perspective of a craftsman songwriter. So you're getting someone who actually understands the history and not just someone who's writing it down,
You
so to
really
speak.
don't know how I still am. I still find out things about Mike Mattison that I shake my head at. I found out both of his parents were ministers, but just a couple weeks ago. And I don't know if I can say this, but boy, I can't wait to break his balls on that one. So, you know, he's he's just so multi-talented. He could have been he could have been anything he wanted, but he chose to be a rock and roll star.
I'm glad he chose that,
And
and I'm glad you're telling me all these stories and sharing this book with me, and I'm looking forward to
that's
digging in on it for sure. Why don't you tell? Well, yeah, well, one more time. It's poetic song verse, blues based
Poetic
popular
Converses
music and
of
poetry. Mike
Ernest.
Mattison, Ernest Suarez. I got it pulled up right here on Amazon. Kindle and paperback are available. And what did you wanted to plug a GoFundMe as well? You were saying.
Oh, thank you. Well, on Facebook, and my name is James Ricker, Ricker. I am trying to raise some money for a van. I've been driving a car my whole life, so they everybody's telling me I should get a van. It's going to be easier on me.
Yeah, I
So
think so.
we've got a GoFundMe that's out there that only needs $500 more uh, into it to close it off. And boy, if I could get it any extra help, it would be a blessing. I've gotten a lot of help, and to come up to this $5,000 range now, we're at 44 uh 80, I believe.
As of whenever the hell we're recording this, what's today's
Yeah,
date? November.
today is today I believe
November. What is it? November 17th? It was
I believe
November
it's
17th.
18th.
Yeah,
Actually.
17th.
Yeah,
17th.
17th. Okay.
No, we'll
And
get you there, and I'm gonna contribute for sure, and I'm definitely gonna share the link to that.
oh, well, thank you, Adam. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
And anybody else, I just I really appreciate it. Everybody's gonna get a big thank you from me, and I thank you for bringing that up. Thanks a lot.
Oh, of course.
And but I will leave you off, and everybody else on your podcast land, that people will ask you, or people will say they seem like they're really good people. Well, they really are beyond that. They're very special people, and yet when you're with them, you're just with your average buddy that you get to see, every now and then, that blows into town. It just so happens they put on a show in between. So
Very cool. Very
yeah,
cool stuff all around. I appreciate the time, the stories. I hope you're doing okay and you're doing well, and I know you're hungry. I'm getting hungry too. Are you eating
yeah.
lobster tonight? You are like
Um,
the
actually,
main
actually,
man. You are a main man.
the main man, they actually call me Mr. Ricka, and that is a accent for Ricker, of course, because sometimes after a couple of beers, the accent gets a little bit thicker.
New
So
Englandy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, to anybody down in Florida, you say "wicked awesome" more than once, and they all look at each other and they're like, "He said it. He said wicked," and yeah, everything's wicked
It comes
awesome.
out.
Everything's wicked awesome up here, and I hope it is in southern LA where you are, Adam.
Oh, we're
And
doing all right. Thank you.
and I shall uh, maybe maybe if you want to hear a few more stories,
Well,
we'll
I'll have to have you back on sometime for sure. But I'll let you
maybe
get
get
cooking,
back
and I'm
up.
gonna do the same.
Time
And
for some steaks.
what's that?
I said it's time for some tuna steaks
Oh,
for
that
me.
sounds good. Enjoy, and let's talk more soon. And thanks again.
Thank you, Adam. Have a great day.
Oh, you too. Later.
Bye bye.
So there you go. Episode 66 with James Ricker. That was a lot of fun. I definitely appreciate James sharing his story and getting into his personal connection with the band and beyond. I will definitely have to have James on again very soon to share more TTB tales and even perhaps recap the last of the band's 2021 shows in Boston. I think James will be in attendance for at least one, if not more, of those. Anyway, for now, hope everyone is out there is hanging in there and doing okay. Please check out Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. That's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. Please remember to tap subscribe or follow on iTunes, Spotify, or via whichever way you listen to this show. And again, positive reviews on iTunes, Apple Podcasts are greatly appreciated. Tedeschi Trucks Podcast is the YouTube channel. I'm at Adam Choit on Twitter and Instagram. My other podcast is called People We Love. Check that out, peoplewelovepodcast.com, at People We Love podcast on Instagram. TedeschiTrucksBand.com is their official website. But I think that's about all I got for today. I appreciate you guys listening again. Thank you as always. And let's talk soon. Peace.